Welcome back to the cultivation journey of buff weebs. It's me again, and I'm here to talk to you about something a little bit more personal. You see, Monday cultivation journey episodes are going to be linked to anime, specifically because I want to bring up a topic related to fitness that's not within the Whiskies and Weebs talk show, and I do want to at least have some relevance of example for all the weebs out there. Me being a massive weeb myself, I do think that it's a good point to use some culturally relevant information or media to get my point across. At least I hope people learn better that way. But with that said, Wednesday cultivation journey episodes are going to be a bit more personal. You need to find out about the man behind the madness of actually lifting because of anime and manga. Alright? So perhaps a bit of background about myself, not this shitty background, but I've been lifting for a long time. I've been lifting for practically a decade or more. I started lifting in the late 2012, now it's 2023, so I've been lifting since I've been 14 years old. Well, lifting in a very not so strict sense, and I'll get to it shortly. So let me first whip out this book of numbers I have here. You see, I have been through many phases in what you could consider a lifting journey, although it's probably best to describe it as a fat loss journey with many different bouts of fat gain, fat loss, muscle loss, the whole shebang. But if that's it, let's start when I was 14. The period of 14 to 16 years old when I was in secondary school could be best described as a Hajime no Ippo phase. So if you know Hajime no Ippo, the boxing manga, which I really do like, if only, George Morikawa could upload a bit more, would be that it means, or it translates directly into the first step. And that was exactly it. My first step into fitness began in secondary school. But lifting specifically began when I was in my late 14 years old. That came out wrong. But when I was late in 2012, I started this program known as Strong Lifts. At that time, the goal was to get strong. I was 110 kg fat. Think about it, 110 kg, 14 years old. My height then was probably about 1.8 meters. Yeah, that made me a living, breathing, walking meat shield. But the self-deprecation aside, being in 110 is clearly not too good for your fitness. Worse off when you're, clinically obese. That said, from 14 to 15 years old, that is from the late 2012 to the early 2013, I lost a lot of weight. And this weight was mostly fat. And not just that, but it could be considered my first successful recomposition phase, where I not only lost fat, I gained muscle. Because in the late 2012, I made my first big ticket home gym fitness item. That was my first pair of squat stands. And as the name suggests, I actually started squatting. Yeah, so for everyone who I told you that I skip legs, I lied. That beside the point, so I started off a program called Strong Lifts, and on Strong Lifts you basically just squat, bench, deadlift, do rows, and overhead press. And it was through doing this really dissected Strong Lifts program without benching, and attempting to get my first pull-up because the NAPFA test in Sec 3 was looming, that I actually achieved my first recomposition. I lost 15 kg of weight, and I probably did make quite a fair amount of gains, and at the same time I lost a lot of fat. Wonderful, and all over a period of 3 months, so this is the biggest proof that newbie gains are real, and they're best exploited with a recomposition phase, especially if you have plenty of fat to use as fuel. With that said, from 15 years old, I did get to about 95 kg sometime around the middle of the year, and I did maintain that all the way until early 2014, where I stopped going for CCA because, things have to end and you have to start studying for exams that might dictate your future. And because I am very poor at stress management, still am bad but not as bad as then, I accidentally began my first dirty bulk. Because, bacon, minced pork, and pasta, and butter, and salt don't exactly go too well into giving you a healthy eating lifestyle. Yeah. Beside the point, by the end of 2014, not only was I at 120 kilograms, now, well, fatter and slightly more muscular than before, I was now capable of doing a pull up at 120 kilograms for one rep, which was great. My lifts also went up. At this point, I probably squatted my best ever low bar squat, which was like 140, almost died. Then I think I was at like hovering at 160 on a single for deadlifts, conventional of course, and bench looming around 90-95 for a single. Little single stuff aside, I'll still be single when I enter JC at 17 years old in 2015. And from there, over the, well, December holidays, I did lose some fat and went from 120 to 114. So I started the year off at 114, and it was at this time that we could really call what my experimental phase, where I became my own Frankenstein. So I stopped doing strong lifts and I started playing around with a bunch of different training styles. There was the powerlifting style of training. At the time I went to the gym, the powerlifting gym that is known as the Strength Yard, and the Strength Yard in its early conception days back at Paya Lebar. Well, at least that's the MRT I went to walk there in the sun every weekend. And boy was it the first time that I actually did cardio, because I actually walked there for probably like 800 meters. And yeah, so from this period of time, I did achieve my first 100 kilo bench, 140 on squats, it was very achieved, and 180 on deadlifts. And chalk at the time was pretty much the white powder of choice, not creatine, not other white powders of choice. And it was there that I dropped my weight down to about 108 and probably ended off the year at about 106. Then, becoming 18 years old, the age where I am legally allowed to drink alcohol, that my weight shot back up over the vacation, December holidays, whatever, to 112. And since this is the year where, well, IPPT, the new system at least, you need to do push-ups, you need to sit-ups, you need to run a 2.4 kilometers run, 1.5 miles for people who care, that I decided that yes, I actually have to do cardio, and I can't skive. So this year was the year of bodybuilding and CrossFit. CrossFit first, so that my cardio actually went up, and I actually could get a silver score for my IPPT, just I was too fat and ended up going to obese BMT in 19 years old. So despite the fact that I did manage to cut from 112 to about 104, that was about peak CrossFit, I did balloon back to 112 when I started out obese BMT. Perfect for me. I had Chinese New Year to fatten myself up on as much Ferrero Rocher and Bak Kwa as possible. So I did go in a somewhat, well, happier man with a coagulated vascular system, but that's beside the point. So 19 years old, 2017, this is where obese BMT was, 5 months, so 19 weeks. And this was where the most radical, well, fat weight loss phase I had in my life was. In that it was partially caused by absurd amounts of overtraining, tons of cardio, and sickness. Yeah, so I fell sick about 4 times. And my weight fell from 112 to its lowest, 85. And they did actually take like a before and after picture for you, where my weight at about week 17 was around 89, I think. Yeah, and then it would hover between like 89 to 87 as I went to my final route march to go for my POP. Once that was done, I was sent to SCS, Specialist Cadet School, where by the power of night snacks, night snacks, plenty of donuts and sugar, where my weight went back up from 85 to 90 through, well, just call it greed, indulgence, and gluttony. So yes, don't be too greedy and don't be too gluttonous. And from there, I went to recon. And recon, my weight practically hovered at about anywhere from 88 to 92. And it was probably about the end of the year, after graduating from SCS that I did stay at about weight of 92 kilograms. So at this point, I was pretty much a slightly lean, mean cardio machine because all the route marching you do, yeah, my heart as well as my feet were probably about as made of steel as it could be. So come into yeah, 2018. So this year, not really eventful, hopefully, thankfully, and my weight hovered anywhere from 91 to 94, and I think I ended off the year at 95, which is what I would maintain as I went to 2019 and ORD. Alright, the fantastic cock and bull story of my entire NS journey aside, I ORD from Army at 95 kilograms, and at this point, starting to get fluffy again. But not only that, because of months and months of skiving on actually training, not only was my, well, cardio pretty short, it was, my gains were also somewhat limited. You can't exactly train the way you want to, and several training modalities only can do so much. So yeah. Now, before university started, I had a fantastic period of time to bulk myself back up. So, before I went to Australia for vacation after my birthday, I did have a fantastic opportunity to bulk myself back to 100 from 95. And this time, I was lifting at home practically every single day, and once I came back from my trip to Australia, then I started doing jiu-jitsu. And I started doing jiu-jitsu, and practically every day. So I would lift, slack, do jiu-jitsu, go home, rinse and repeat, and try not to get injured. But as you know, injuries are always prevailing. With that said, I did manage to enter university somewhere around 92 kilograms. And that was through the power of not friendship, but probably closer to social interaction, moving around a lot more, and alcohol. So yeah. So with that said, I did have a lot of opportunities to walk around under the sun, which is what I like as long as it's not too bright. And I ended off the year at about 95 kilograms. I know, but this was a fantastic opportunity because I now could actually train and train hard with university facilities. So I ended the year off at 95. And coming 2020, COVID happened and I started the year off around 97, and I do actually have all my skill weight stats for this. So I would hit the bottomest of my weight at 91 somewhere around February, because at this point in December of the previous year, 2019, I did enough jiu-jitsu, aka 3 sessions, to injure myself so badly that my knees and my ankles were gone. So yeah, I practically couldn't train. So with my 2-month excuse to skip legs and only do bench for like 6 weeks, I started off February at about 91, and thus began a slow and gradual decline of fitness as COVID happened. You can't go out, you can't walk around. I didn't have a treadmill then, and I basically just lifted weights at home. So it's at this point where I hit 100 by the end of the year, and coming into 2021, where restrictions were lifting, I started off about 97.5. So started off at 97.5, got into a relationship in March, which ended in August. So from that period of time, my weight shot back up to about 104 in August, and then it stayed fluctuating up and down around that weight until the end of the year. Yeah, that happens. So come 2022, I'm 24 years old. That was last year. This was the year of actually lifting hard. So I would describe this year as the year of actual intensity. And by actual intensity, if you look at my training logs, it meant doing multiple rest pause sets to failure on multiple down sets across several exercises, and doing this for about 4 days per week with an AM session, so morning lifting session, and a PM lifting session. Well, it actually did work, and I did lose like a fair amount of fat, and I also did make back and probably reach my all-time highs in terms of gains then. So come to this year, last year, weight drops, that's the most important. Start off the year about 103, that was after skiving, and I did lose about 95. I dropped to 98 kilograms, losing 5 kilograms because I actually had to do cardio again, this time for my grades. After safely securing my grades, that's when I started hitting a proper gym. And then my weight stayed about 98 all the way to about 100 at the end of the year. And a 2 kilogram increase when you're already at 98 is nothing at that point. So yeah, started this year off, 2023, at 100 kilograms and then began a 3-month cut for the Renaissance Periodization 2023 Transformation Challenge. Then I dropped from 100 to 92. So now I'm back at the weight that I started university off at. And that's, yeah, it's been like probably a good 3 years actually since I've been at this weight. Just pretty good, and I'm cutting again. This time for physique purposes. Now, if there is anything that I actually want you to take away from this, is that there are a couple of things that are trends within any kind of fat loss phase, and this is just a fat loss journey. This is one of them, which is that you don't turn your fat into muscle, but these two things are always changing. What you want is for the muscle to always be going up, and that is facilitated by diet and training. You want your fat to be staying where you want it to be as sustainably as you can have it, because having your fat too low or too high is going to pose some kind of health or medical risk to your, well, health or daily well-being. So yeah, I got my fat low when I needed it to be, not say low but lower when I needed it to be, and my muscle just either stayed the same or has always been going up, unless extenuating circumstances like national service prevent you from getting enough protein in your diet. If that's it, I hope you've seen a little bit more into what goes on in a decade's worth of fat loss. Some things are just more important than others, some things will be constant, and some things are just going to be, well, plain unfortunate. With that said, stay tuned for the next episode of the cultivation journey of Buff Weeps. If you ever need help, you ever require assistance on your own fat loss or for your own fitness, do feel free to drop me an email. Otherwise, you could always DM me on my Instagram account down below for a consultation. I do it for free anyway. Otherwise, do like, share, subscribe. Also follow the Whiskies and Weebs YouTube and Instagram. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again. Peace.